Hello everyone, welcome to How to Achieve Consistent Evaluation of Color through Judge QC webinar by X-Rite Pantone. Today we will be discussing best practices in the visual evaluation of color and how to achieve consistency through control lighting to meet your customer expectations. My name is Andres Franco, I'm the marketing manager for X-Rite and I'll be your webinar moderator today. Before we begin, I want to go over a few housekeeping points. So first, because of the number of people that are attending today's webinar, we will keep everyone muted. But if you have some questions throughout the webinar, make sure you go to webinar control panel and go to the questions tab, and you can write your question there at any point during the webinar. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session where we will answer any questions that you have. With us today, we have an expert in color management that will be sharing his knowledge with more than 15 years in the color industry and functions such as color formulation, research and development, color management, color measurement solutions. Mike Huda is an application engineer with X-Rite. Hello, Mike. Welcome.
Hi, Andreas. Thank you very much. As Andreas mentioned, my name is Mike Huda. I'm an applications engineer and technical support for X-Rite Pantone in the industrial market segment. I wanted to thank you for taking the time this afternoon to talk with us about the new Judge QC and Pantone 3 light boosts available from X-Rite Pantone. One of the things that is really striking is this quote that in the right light at the right time, everything is extraordinary. And anybody who observes color on a normal basis knows this to be true. That's just a little segue into our presentation here. So the challenges of visual evaluation are manifold. Our eyes are subjective, our own minds are subjective. So we need to make sure that when we're doing visual color evaluation, we take the lighting very seriously. That there's ways that we could easily fall prey if we're not looking in the right areas. There's an effect called metamerism that is generally characterized by a material looking one way under one light source and completely different under another. So for optimum color control, we'd like to execute a number of exercises in order to make sure that we don't have a metameric effect occurring. My team speaks to dozens of people a week that have problems correlating proper viewing conditions with both their customers and their vendors. And I personally talk to multiple people on a very regular basis that can't correlate their measurement data with visual evaluation. And all this leads to is a lot of frustration on both sides of the fence for customers and vendors alike. By using proper lighting condition, we hope to tamp down this frustration, and we just want to talk a little bit more about the new products we have to offer. But first, let's play a couple games here. I'd like you all just to stare at the black X in the center, and I would like you to concentrate not on the squares, but directly on that X. And we'll just keep staring at it for about, I don't know, let's give it another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, this is an interesting exercise in the effects of after image. When we look at high intensity color, our eyes can become saturated by that color, and it leaves an imprint in our optical nerve. And it's a chemical called rhodopsin. Let's take a look at this one more time. Just stare at that dot there in the center of the screen. Now, you're probably familiar with the look of this flag, but I'm sure it doesn't look familiar color-wise. So let's see if we can make that look a little more familiar. And I'm not going to sing "O Canada" for you, so you're out of luck. All right, so this is caused by retinal fatigue, and in a nutshell, brief exposure to strong colors leaves an after image, and sometimes, as you can see, it took a little while for that color to fade from your field of vision. We need to let our eyes recover. Let's take a look at another phenomena here that can trip us up in visual viewing. And if you look at the two gray bars, the one on the left may appear to be darker to you, the one on the right lighter. At least that's the way they appear to me. But if we join these bars, we can tend to see that the background effects of those colors, the yellow and blue overlapping, cause us to perceive that the colors are different in saturation. Let's take another look at this. Who thinks the blue on the left is darker than the blue on the right? Again, we find that this is the same blue, but based on the fields of yellow and black, we tend to perceive that blue as being of a different color. Okay, and that's background effects. We have to take into consideration that the fovea of our eye, which is a small crevice in the back of the eye, cones cells, and these allow us to see color, and so sometimes we have to be aware of our field of vision and where we're looking at things. So if we have a bright red sweater on and we're trying to view some color panels, we're actually picking up on that bright red differently. If we have something in our field of vision that's of a complementary or other bright hue, while we're trying to view color, this can distract our eye, so to speak, and then this can cause a lot of problems. I've seen this many times in customer sites. So let's take a look at this blue, and let's try to memorize this color. Okay, just study it for a moment. Okay. Would any of us agree that this is the same blue? Is it perhaps a different blue? You can see indeed these are two totally different shades of blue that change in both chroma and hue. So we have to also realize another pitfall for visual assessment is that humans have poor color memory, and that two objects must be viewed simultaneously, side by side, if you will, in order to judge their color difference. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with these kind of diagrams. These are from the Ishihara color deficiency test. I know my eye doctor often gives me this test when I go in. I'm sure others have seen this. I know my children have had it in school. And what we're supposed to determine here is that there's numbers hidden in these series of dotted patterns here. What do you see on the left? What do you perceive to see on the right? If you guess 6 on the left and 2 on the right, I would say you have fairly good discernment on color vision. But many people will see 8s in both cases if they have any kind of red, green, red, blue deficiency. Okay, so an interesting fact here for you is that 1 in every 13 males and 1 in every 300 females suffer from some form of red-green color deficiency. Not to say they can't evaluate color, but they may not be as effective as people that don't suffer from this sort of deficiency. So we talked about retinal fatigue, background effects, poor color memory, and color deficiency. But the number one thing in this list is the last bullet to me, and that's lighting conditions. A failure to adopt standardized lighting is often and results in poor color decisions. And when I say often, I mean almost always. We impress lighting quite a bit, and I think that the Judge QC can help us accomplish our mission when it comes to optimizing lighting control. Just want to take a moment to show you a couple yeses and nos about proper viewing. You have to realize that anybody can view an object and assess the color, but the method by which you do it is very important and needs to be clearly defined. We have some scenarios here. Generally, we like to view on a 45-degree angle, which cuts the specular component of the light out of our field of view, meaning the shine, if you will. And so some of these situations annotate, the proper way to view an object and the improper way as well. Okay, I also wanted to highlight for you that there's a distinct difference between light source and illuminance. When I talk about illuminance, I'm talking about a mathematical description of a relative spectral power distribution. So it's actually an imaginary light source or an ideal light source. When I talk about a light source, I'm talking about a bulb, usually a filamented bulb or a fluorescent tube, maybe a light-emitting diode. So we just have to realize that there's a sharp contrast between when we discuss illuminance versus light sourcing. With that segue, I'd like to introduce you to the Judge QC and the Pantone 3 light booths. These are 3 years ago we started development on these new booths. Replacement for the Judge 2 solution, and wanted to offer customers the quality and performance they had come to recognize in the Judge 2 product. I feel like we did them one better. As many of you are aware, we are double the size of our biggest competitor in the lighting market, and so that sets the bar pretty high for us, and we did our best to give it a good go. So here we see a representation of both booths. The Judge QC is directed not only at the industrial market, but can pass over into the print and design for people who need a wider range of light sources. But the Pantone 3 is a simple and easy solution for those that don't need as much discernment, but still would like to detect metamerism and correlate their light with their customers. We've added a lot of standard features to the Judge QC that didn't exist in the Judge 2. It's offered in an N7 neutral, and it's a steel construction for durability. It's powder coated as well. We have a new membrane micro switch activation on it, and for the first time we have a lamp service indication light. We also offer a new option of dual daylight for D50 and D65. The style of it's very complementary to its big brother, the SPL QC. All right. We touched on daylight a little, and I just want you to understand that not all daylights are created equally. We talked about illuminance, and on the left-hand side, you see what the CIE, or the Commission on Illumination, determines is the ideal illuminant structure for D65 lighting. And if you look to the next diagram, that's marked number 1, that's the Spectralite D65. It maps it pretty closely. The figure marked number 2 is the Judge QC D65. This is a new bulb that contains 9 phosphors that let us mimic it's a wide-band fluorescent, by the way, but it allows us to mimic some of the power distribution better than we were ever able to before. On the far right, the figure mark number 3 is commercial daylight, D65, which is really, they're wideband fluorescents, and they really don't offer the same kind of distribution as the Judge QC can deliver. I touched a little bit on the dual daylight. This is something brand new for us. The D65, it has 9 phosphors with a CRI rating of 98. This is usually used mostly in industrial applications, paint, plastics, textiles. The D50, which contains 6 phosphors in the bulb, also has a CRI of 98, and that's usually employed in the print and graphics arts sectors. The D65 light is mappable to ASTM D1729, and D50 aligns with the Graphic Arts ISO 3664 pretty well. So they meet these specifications, and therefore they're going to be advantageous if you're adhering to a test method or if you're ISO certified. Again, I want to have you look at the diagram on the right hand side. This is the first time we've offered a dual daylight scenario for any of our booths. This means that we can use both D50 and D65 in the booth to go back and forth between the two light sources. We've never offered this before. The Judge 2, you had to order the lighting in the configuration you wanted it. You had to make a choice. Was it going to be D50, D65, or D75? Here we actually offer both D50 and D65 in the same booth. So that's an added plus to some customers that really thought that would be a big advantage in the marketplace. Another new feature that we really wanted to touch on was the voltage selector knob that's been added to the back of the booth. We can now select voltage based on geographic regionality. As you know, different countries apply different voltages through their power supplies, and this allows us to switch from 100 volt, 115, 127, and 230 volts. This means if I was traveling with the booth and I was going from America to Europe, I could switch it easily from the American power supply to the voltage regulated in European or wherever I was going geographically. So this is a big win here. The other feature that I myself really like is the new membrane style design with the raised keys for easy manipulation. As I said, the new lamp indicator is there on the right hand side, and this is the first time we've ever had something like this. We always had an old analog meter, and you would have to hand record or tabulate the hours under which you change the bulbs. This new indicator is a visual cue, if you will, to keep the user aware of what the hour count is on their bulbs, if they're nearing completion or not. It glows green from 0 through 1900 hours, which are within the manufacturer's stated lifetime. Once it reaches 1901, it starts to flash from red to green. This is an indication we need to order replacement lamps, and this is the first time we've ever had anything like this. So I feel like it's a really good way to keep customers aware of when their lamps are nearing end of life. And then finally, the indicator will turn red after 2,000 hour count, and that's saying that we're out of the manufacturer's stated lifetime, and it's definitely time to replace the lamps. We offer a variety of different bulbs for these units. There's the D65, the dual D50. We also offer store lighting in the form of the cool white fluorescent, the TL84, the U30 and U35 bulbs, and a Horizon A tungsten halogen for a home lighting simulation, and also the single ultraviolet lamp for detecting the presence of optical brightening agents in materials. I also want to give you a quick look at the Pantone 3 booth. This booth is of a simpler design for people that just don't need all the bells and whistles that you're going to get from the Judge QC. This is obviously it's Pantone 3 because it's a 3-bulb booth. It has easy, simple rocker style switches. You toggle them on, toggle them off, and it does have an analog light hour counter for tracking the hours that the bulbs have been employed. It comes in 2 configurations, a D65, an A incandescent home lighting, and a TL84 for one configuration, and a daylight D50 with the A incandescent and cool white fluorescent. So this is something that for customers that require a simple solution but still want to have controlled light viewing. Well, that's all I have for you folks today. I was glad you gave me the time to speak with you a little bit about this, and I guess we can take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mike. So if you have any questions, now is the time to go to the tab on the control panel that's called questions, and write your questions right now. We can definitely answer them in the next couple minutes. So we'll wait for a couple seconds for you to input the question, and then we will start answering them. Okay, the first question, Mike, is how soon will the new light boots be available?
They're currently available for ordering. We launched in the middle of September, so they're already ready to be ordered.
That's great. Thank you, Mike. I have another question, and it's, can you put another light in the D50 position?
Under the configuration, if you weren't going to choose the dual daylight setting, because the dual daylight takes 4 sockets, 2 for D65, 2 for D50. If you choose just to have the D65, then you could remove the D50 lights and replace them with TL84, U30, any of the other bulbs that are offered, any of the other fluorescent tubes.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. If you have any other questions, I guess now is the time to ask them. Otherwise, we will finish the webinar right now. Let me check. I think that's it for now, Mike. So thank you all for attending the webinar, and thank you, Mike, for your insight and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Andreas. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Bye-bye.